Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Michael, aka Rickshaw, and welcome to Worship and Tribute Nerd. Today I have a special guest, Krysta Cameron. We're going to talk about some spooky, scary ghost stuff because that's what Krysta likes.
I love spooky ghost stuff.
And I also like that. And we're going to talk about
the paranormal.
Some experiences.
Okay.
Have you had any experiences?
Not per se me, but my grandmother definitely had experiences.
Let's hear it.
Well, for example, she was very in tune with certain things her entire life. So, technically, I'll explain this situation. So, every time someone in our family would pass away, she would have a dream the night before that there's a big family get-together. She sees a party. And then she always has one conversation with a specific family member. And it wouldn't be for long. It would just be one-on-one. And everything else is just like white noise in a room. But the people in her family are there.
Right.
The next day, she'd wake up, get a phone call. The person passed away.
Right.
My grandfather, I told you, remember, he was a musician, right? And he would travel. He played in like big bands growing up, played the trumpet. He would travel into New York City on the weekends to play a gig. He'd come home to Long Island late at night. Once he said he fell asleep at the wheel, right? And he said he woke my grandmother up the minute he got home. And he said, Ida, I had this dream that I fell asleep at the wheel. And I did. I fell asleep and you were waking me up. And you told me, wake up, Phil, wake up. Yeah, that happened. Lots of weird things have happened with her. But when she passed away, now I'm telling you this, ever since I became a mom, I don't nap. My ears, you can ask anybody who's a mother, like you can ask your girlfriend this. Anybody who's a mother, you hear your kid the minute they stir. It's just like a mom thing. You should ask your mom. Mom. So I put Finn down for a nap. We were in New York. My grandmother was in the hospital. She had a stroke, right? She went to hospice. And she ended up passing away. I went to sleep. I fell asleep. I took a nap. Put Finn down. And then I woke up to Finn crying. My stepfather was holding him, telling me I needed to get up. And I was very confused because I just had a dream that I was hanging out with my grandmother in that room. It was dark. There was just a bed. And she was telling me exactly this. She said, I'm fine. I'm okay. And she looked like she did when I was younger and she was younger. And then my stepdad woke me up and was like, your grandma passed away. You need to get up. So I slept through my kid screaming.
Right.
Which never happens. And I was very confused. And I woke up and was like, what? No, I just talked to her. This is bullshit. Like I was in shock. And I don't know if that was her spirit coming to talk to me or if maybe she passed on this weird thing. But I always have weird feelings like that.
That is, so as you're describing that, like I have, so whenever I was younger, one of my friends in high school, one of my best friends passed away. He was in a car wreck. And I had a really weird dream. It was like months later, like a few months later. And it was kind of like what you described. It was like I was in a huge room and it seemed like a ballroom or something. It was like it looked like it was prom or like a fancy ass prom or something. And I was hanging out with my friend that passed away. And like, when you don't know in your mind what's going on, sometimes in a dream, you're like, you're confused by something. Well,
exactly.
I didn't know what was going on, but I was just like, hey man, how are you? And he's like, dude, come on. We need like, stop with the surface level conversation. Like you need to hang out. Like, tell me what's been up. Tell me how you are. And he's like, and then like in the dream, we're like drinking and stuff. And he's like, drink up, man. We only have so much time. And, like in the dream, it confused me. But then whenever I woke up and was like, wow, I was just hanging out with my friend that passed away. and he was like, we only have so much time.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what I mean? I thought that was really odd. But
they say, though, parapsychologists, they do say that sometimes people who have passed on will come to people in their dreams. Because they say that, you know, we're constantly going. And, you know, we don't recognize what can be around us. So when we're asleep, sometimes it's our subconscious, right? And we're more open.
Right.
And in tune with our environment.
Right.
And maybe you were still, in a way, grieving him months later.
Right.
And either A, you could have just been dreaming about him because you missed him, or B, he came to you. Which there has been so many accounts of people having that dream. That's why I think it's funny that you have it too, because I listen to one of my favorite paranormal podcasts is Campfire with Jim Harold. He also has another podcast called the Paranormal Podcast, where he has people who are doctors and psychiatrists and you name it, writers, authors coming, and people who are actual ghost hunters and just come on and talk. And then he has got the Campfire where people call in and tell their story. And a lot of people have these stories, like a very similar story.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. I think my house too, growing up, I used to dabble a little with the Ouija board. And I've had some bad experiences with that.
I have also.
Really bad experiences.
Right.
And it's weird because you don't think of it like as something that can possibly talk to the other side.
I think, well, like there's those of us that believe in that side of things, and then there's those of us that don't. And you know, obviously, those of us that don't there's more of us that don't. You know what I mean? Like I have this argument all the time.
But until you have the experience yourself.
I mean, I personally did have an experience. Like if I told you the facts, no, there's not anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
You know, like you could explain every single part of it, but when you're there, you're like, you know, that to me, that was like a supernatural moment because it's very unexplained to me. Do you want me to just tell my story?
Go tell your story.
Okay.
Because maybe our stories might be similar and we can compare and contrast.
So whenever I was in high school, me and two other of my best friends, Ian and my friend Ian Bailey and my friend Jeb Detter, we would hang out and we'd always talk about that. Man, like I believe in ghosts. Do you believe in ghosts? Yeah. We should play a Ouija board. We should, you know, see what happens. And all three of us were like, if we ever did play a Ouija board, I'm not going to fuck around. And like they agreed. I'm not going to fuck around either. If we just put our hands on it and nothing happens, nothing happens. You know what I mean? At least we'll know, you know, because we'd always talked about it and wondered. So we finally got a hold of my friend Carrie's Ouija board. She let us borrow it. And like some of the first couple times we did it, it like was moving. And it was like the slow move.
Were you guys like, you guys are doing it.
And like, but like all three of us were just like, I told you for a couple of months now, like if it was going to move, it's going to be for real. And none of us were fucking with each other. And we all trusted each other, you know, and skeptical people will always be like, whatever, those things are stupid. Anyways, so the following weeks we continued playing it and it got like faster and like, yeah. And to the point to where it was like, yeah, this is, you know, this is crazy to me because it was like really rugged and slow at first. And then it started gliding.
Because it was fueling off of your energy.
Right. And so anyways, the three of us played it specifically a lot. And then like a couple months later, the girl Carrie, who let us borrow it, who claimed to live in a haunted house, who was also she was kind of odd herself. Like she seemed like she might see things that aren't there or whatever. Anyways, so we're all playing it at my friend Ian's house. And we're like, if you're real, prove yourself. If you're real, prove yourself. And it's just like, it's not having it, you know? And then, and then it says like a bunch of weird stuff like, we're like, have you always lived in this house? And it's like, yes. And then we're like, how'd you die? And then it's like, ate glue. And we're like,
What?
ate glue? What do you, this is, you know? And then all of a sudden, Carrie like goes to the other room to get some water, and then it stops. And we're like, okay, that's weird. Guess it's not working anymore. So we all go into the kitchen area where there's like the dining room table, and there's like a phone, and she is just like right here getting water and standing there. And then it starts working again once we get in the kitchen. So we're like, okay, this is weird. After a while, you know, someone's still telling, prove yourself. And she sits down and she puts her hands on it. And then it's like PHON. And she goes, do you mean telephone? And as soon as she said telephone, the phone was like, and like me and my friend Ian like stood up, like, and our chairs like dropped behind us because we're just like, what the fuck is happening? And then he like picked up the phone, and there was nothing but a dial tone. And so we're like, did you do that? And it's like, yes, on the Ouija board. So I was like, you know, like I tell that story, and some people are just like, oh, it could have been anyone. It could have been anyone.
But what is the odds of that?
Right. And this was like when caller ID just got invented, right?
Yeah.
And so how they're like, I've had people be like, those girls probably just pranked you. And I'm like, okay, so how do you before cell phones, how do you orchestrate sitting with your friends and saying the word telephone and having the phone ring without cell phones? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, maybe it was a coincidence, but when they picked up the phone, no one was there.
Yeah.
So what all coincidences have to be working together?
Right. Like
for this to
if
be
somebody calls, they're
right.
gonna say something.
Yeah. Like I could understand if it was like we all stand up out of our chairs and we're freaking the fuck out, and my friend picks up the phone and he's like, hello, and someone's like, hey, is your mom there?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
so then it's not scary. But
Yeah.
when there's just a dial tone.
Yeah.
So
that's so weird.
That was I was weirded out by that.
See, I think my story kind of like exacerbated like the activity in my home. Like, because so in the 7th grade,
I think you have told me some of these stories in the past.
Yeah.
So.
I think the 7th grade, I definitely experienced something. So I have my sister and I, my mom's best friend growing up, her name was Janine, but I couldn't say Janine when I was a little kid, so I called her Bon Bon.
Okay.
So I have an Aunt Bon Bon, right? She was my godmother. And she brought over a Ouija board to play with for my sister and I. Like, she bought us one, and my mom was like, whatever, okay? And we sat down, and we wanted to talk to someone. So we started talking to, like, my grandpa because he passed away, and my mom was, like, doing it with us, whatever. If it was, it was. If it wasn't,
right.
You know. But I was like, wow, this is really neat. So at that time, I didn't have many friends. Everybody I went to school with, 6th grade and elementary school, they stopped talking to me because everybody was starting to get into different things, and I was the one wearing ripped jeans and Nirvana t-shirts, you know? I was the freak. Everybody started calling me a freak, okay?
If you could send me an old picture, and then I just posted in the video right here.
Oh, yeah. No, I think you've
like,
seen my goth
you and your
photos
like
back
goth
in
and
the day.
Jinkos and
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
No, my Zero shirt.
Yeah,
Totally. Black lipstick.
Right.
The 9s. Okay?
Amazing.
So one of my best friends, Samantha, she they moved out of a district. So her parents were very strict, and I felt like her parents didn't want her hanging out with people who went to my school as opposed to her school. And I get that. She was in a new school, whatever. So I felt like I was so alone. And one day I started picking up the Ouija board to talk to someone. And someone I did talk to. I don't know who it was or what it was, but I went on for months and months and months of things happening. Where my sister and I had bunk beds, and she would hear it. I would sleep with the fucking thing like next to my pillow. That's how insane it was. Like, I felt like I was needed to be around it all the time.
Well, when, you know, like just you saying that, whenever I Me and my friends at that
Right, because
time.
you kept doing it.
Well, yeah, we kept
It gets
doing it.
stronger.
And then they'd be like, yo, you need to take that thing home with you, because they would be weird about it.
And then you
So there was times where I took it home with me, and I would just kind of like sit it there in my room somewhere.
Yeah.
And there was like at least 2 times I remember waking up
hearing it move.
in the middle of the night and just being like, I didn't hear anything, but I woke up and it just felt like somebody was there. Like, just like, and I thought it was weird that I specifically like woke up out of bed and was like looking right at it. Like,
like you felt like
I'm
a heavy
creeped out.
presence.
Yeah. Like,
and my sister would be like, you can even still ask her this to this day. She'd be like, would wake up and hear it going, the planchette, it's called.
Yeah.
And I'd be asleep. And it got so bad to where like part of the board, because I used it so much, it would start to almost like look like it was just being so used, like disintegrating. My mom got so mad. She threw it. She like threw it away. I went out. It was raining, I remember. And I went out of the garbage and I picked it up and I brought it back inside.
Like in a scary movie.
Yeah. Like in a scary movie. Then things started getting worse. And my grandmother, one night, she was over on a Sunday night and she came into my room and she knocked on the door. I was distancing myself from my family. I stopped eating because boys would tell me that I was fat and this and that, which I was like, okay, well, I'm going to stop eating. And I would talk to it and it would tell me, don't eat anything. Like it would literally spell that out.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, okay. And so then my grandmother came to my room. She knocked on my door. And I would keep myself, to myself. Like, I just wanted to be around it. I kept it under. We had a little couch in the room. I kept it underneath there. I was hiding it throughout the room so my mom didn't find it. And my grandmother was like, you need to stop this. I know what you're doing. Something bad's going to happen if you don't stop. That fucking night, my sister and I are in the bunk beds. I'm on the bottom at this point because we traded out. And I awoke to this smell of, like, a sulfur. And it was hot. Like, I was sweating. Like, remember that show in Mexico?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that.
Right.
Like, you feel, like, sick.
Right.
Like, I sat up, and I was, like, disoriented. And I kept smelling something. And then all of a sudden, I just start hearing, like, this guttural growl. Like death metal growl.
Right.
And I look over and there's this thing. And it was dark and it was black and it had these like sunken eyes and like these horns. And you know what? I'm not a religious person at all. Like, I was raised Catholic and everything, but I don't know if there's a God. I don't know if there's a devil, but I do believe in good and evil. This thing was fucking evil.
Right.
So, I jumped up and all I could think to do was run to my Walkman and put on a tape. And I'm sitting there listening because I used to make mixed tapes off my boombox, your record player from the radio and tape what I wanted to. And I sat there just like rocking back and forth and it sat up in my bed and it just stared at me and just like smiled and it wouldn't stop. It had like that feeling of like, the first Insidious, like the dark thing.
Yeah.
It was very similar, just like the way its mannerisms.
Like Brandon Urie in that video. That Panic at the Disco.
Panic at the Disco.
Like Brandon Urie in that Panic at the Disco video where he's the devil and he's like painted all black.
Yes, like that. Okay. So
right.
I didn't know what to do. I felt sick.
Right.
I couldn't even get to my sister. It felt like the room kind of shifted. Like, I felt stuck. I felt like this was it. Like, something bad was going to happen. I left my sister there, and I ran to my parents' bedroom. I woke my mom up, and I said, Mom, there's something in my room. There's on my bed. She's like, you're covered in sweat. Like, she was like, you are drenched. She's like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Did you piss yourself? Like, what happened? And I remember her telling me, "You smell like smoke. Why do you smell like smoke?"
Yeah, that's creepy.
And she ran down to the bedroom, and I was terrified. I'm like, "I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there. You have to get Mim out. You have to get Mim out." And she took it and she broke it in half. And I just heard screaming. And I still feel like whatever I did in that house growing up brought along a whole slew of things.
Right.
We would hear a guitar. I had a guitar. We had a ledge in our bedroom, and my guitar, because I used to play guitar. I was so good. No, I wasn't. We had it on the stand, and I'm sitting there talking to my friend, and it just goes whoop, whoop. We've heard scratching on the walls coming near us in our sleep. We've seen things banging on the shower doors. We had my friend was living, who lived with us for a little while. Her sister came up to visit, and we're all watching these scary movies. And my dad was on the couch, and our windows were open. And we were watching Pet Sematary. And it was just like a girls' night sleepover. It was me, my sister, my friend Sam, my friend Candace, and her sister Beth. And our windows are open because it's fucking New York, so it doesn't get a billion degrees at night.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we just hear. And my dad even gets up and looks outside. He goes to bed. My mom ordered like pizza for us and everything. So Beth goes to the kitchen to get something to eat. And we had this room underneath the loft of my parents' bedroom where we had our family's computer and whatnot. And a chair right near the desk that went under the stairwell. And her sister Beth comes up to us and she goes, Who's here? Your parents have somebody over? There's somebody sitting at the computer. And we're like, my sister and I look at each other like, no one's here?
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, no, that's fucked up. Oh my God, oh my God. We all get up and creep around the wall, and there's this black shadow figure sitting at the computer, but like you just see the light from the computer and you just see the shadow. So it's almost as if I'm like faced to your computer.
Like a silhouette.
A silhouette. It was not even a silhouette. Yeah, like a silhouette of a person, but you can see the hair and the fibers, and it just didn't even move. It just sat there like still. We all fucking ran. My friend Samantha literally pissed herself. We grabbed my brother out of his bedroom. Like, it was terrifying. Mm-hmm. And since then, my mom even said that there was constant like activity in that house until she moved out of it.
Right.
So I did something, but I always feel this way too. And I've read this because I suppressed it for a very long time until I started becoming older, and I wanted to know what happened to me because I'm like, I'm not crazy. I know what I saw, just like you. Mm-hmm. You know what you saw. You know what you heard.
Right.
And you have witnesses.
And and I have, but it's just whenever anything that's weird happens to you, no matter what, like it could be someone like say somebody stabbed your tire out. You never find out who did it.
Right.
And
exactly.
And everyone wants to be like,
oh, well, it was maybe it was just a squirrel.
Yeah,
it was just a squirrel.
yeah.
You know?
So the unexplained is always just like to the common person, just like, well, I don't know.
Right, exactly. And people, I mean, and I get it. A lot of people don't want to live in that. Well, they don't question things like the what if. There's more out there.
Well, so I always have this conversation with everyone, and it's like, look, if you think, so like you think you understand, like reality 100%, like what makes you think that you understand and could comprehend exactly everything that's happening around you?
Exactly.
Like, they say that there's another dimension that we can't, taste, hear, touch, whatever. It's like a whole nother thing. And like, the common person's just like, well, that's bullshit.
That is not real.
Yeah.
We all know where we go when we die. Yeah.
And so, I have that conversation, like, do you believe in aliens? And then people are like, well, I believe in aliens. Okay, so you believe in aliens because why? Oh, well, we're like a species on a big floating rock sending, that's flying through outer space.
Yeah.
And like, so you are a species on a rock flying through space, and that explains aliens, but not ghosts, right?
Right.
Like, well, yeah, because we live in a huge universe. Okay, but like, have you ever seen an alien? No, I haven't seen an alien. Well, then, okay, so then you are talking about something that you can't comprehend because it's like we have an endless universe. So, and you're talking about aliens, something you've never seen before, but it's explainable.
Right,
Because,
exactly.
So then in all of this, ghosts are just fictional things. And like most people are like, well, yeah. It's like, well, okay, so like one of the ways that I've been able to explain it is like, me and Ross have always had this conversation. so whenever you are, so we're essentially computer flesh bags, right? We
like
work,
when we die, we're like nothing.
Our brain is the same way as a computer. We have information, we have a memory, we have, and then like whatever our brain tells our body to do, we do or whatever. Well, anyways, when you go to a computer and you delete information, that information is never truly gone.
No, it's not.
Right. So as a human, when we are deleted or, die.
That's a great
then
way.
Our energy is never truly gone. It's going to be redistributed somehow, or some way. So I always say that. It's like, yeah. Another thing is like, I don't know what this like phenomenon is called or whatever, but like I've definitely went to my computer a few different times in my life, opened it up, and I see like my Facebook from like 2 years earlier. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then for a split second, when I see this screen, it like corrects itself. And I look again and it's like, oh, now it says today's date. Weird. And I've literally had that happen. So if you could go to your computer and you could turn it on and it'll show you an image from any time in its lifespan that's not right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an echo, right? So who's to say that like a human living in a house for 50 years
and building this life,
and then dies, you see that person in that house after he
or
dies.
objects.
It could just be an echo of what has been imprinted there.
It's imprints
every day for
Exactly.
years. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's
like
a way I look at it.
Battlefields, where Civil War was, Gettysburg. Those places are known to have activity happen.
Right. And if you think of it like the computer thing, like those places are riddled with data.
Data.
With deleted files that the energy is just kind of like.
Exactly. And like, I say this all the time. I'm like, well, okay, if you don't believe in it, that's fine. That's your way. But this is what I believe. And then people are like, oh, you're crazy. And I'm like, I may be, but I know what I saw. I know what I experienced. And actually, it was recently too. It was maybe 2 years ago. I was out in California visiting Nat, and she was living in it was a 2-story like kind of townhouse apartment, and Finn was with me. He was just a little one at the time, and she had a bathroom underneath the stairwell. We're just sitting there, and this fucking door just goes boom, 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 boom. And Finn was like, and he was 2 years old, and Nat was like, what the fuck? And I was like, dude, I don't know what just happened. She's like, why did that what happened? And we had to like sit here and pick our brains because we saw it. Finn, who's 2, has no idea what's going on. He's like, right. Thomas and Friends. He's just like, he heard it. He looked and he got startled. It happened again.
Now that you're saying that, there's a lot of parallels with things that you tell me with things that anyways, I have this reoccurring dream, and I'm pretty sure it's a dream.
No, it's not people knocking on doors. Right?
It is.
It's me. I'm here
I've
for
literally
you.
like every house I've ever lived in,
Yeah.
like whether I've felt comfortable or not, like literally there's been times where I'm like half asleep in a room somewhere and I have this reoccurring dream where it's like, and I like wake up and I'm like, I've went and checked my door before and been like, okay, I guess I
Was
was
it because
dreaming.
you were exhausted,
Maybe.
or it happens a lot?
I mean, it's
How many times is it not 2?
3.
Do you know that they say in?
I don't think it's happened here, but every
But
other
you
place.
know what they say though?
What?
When things are in 3s, it's the mocking of the Holy Trinity,
Oh, really?
and it's a malevolent
So
spirit.
it's just fucking with me.
It's not a spirit. It's not a ghost. It's not a poltergeist. It is the mocking
Oh, it's just...
of the Holy Trinity. So they do it in 3s. Like, these are things I've read, and it's kind of creepy if you think about it that way. Like, if people have been scratched, have you seen instances of people being scratched, like physically assaulted by something they haven't been able to see? Sometimes you see it in 3s, and they say it's, you know, a demonic presence,
Right.
or attack, you know, a psychic, supernatural attack, a paranormal attack. And that's terrifying because there's people out there who have these stories and, you know, they feel like they're fucking crazy when they talk about them. And some of them are just so as, you know, small as, well, I think I saw my grandpa. He was making a drink and then told me to go fuck myself in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
and then there's people who are telling these stories and they're in fucking physical tears. And I mean, I don't know. They could be a good actor.
Yeah.
Or they're in physical tears and they show photographs of these pictures of them. Did they make the scratches themselves? I don't think they did.
I've definitely had
They're
it
attacked.
after my dog died. Every morning when my dad got home from work when I was a kid, I'd hear my dog walk in with him.
Ooh.
With this little paw print. Yeah. And after my dog died, there was a point in time where like I remember my dad coming home and I remember hearing those.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, that maybe I'm just sleeping.
Did your brother or sister ever experience anything when you guys were growing up?
My brother told me he thought he experienced some weird shit. He told me that like he always used to think that I was like, what the fuck?
Run, Ricky, run!
Anyways, my brother told me he used to always there's a goddamn ghost in here. Anyways. I honestly thought the dog was like,
going to die.
I was like, damn, the dog was trying to creep me out. Anyways, my brother used to tell me he'd be like, hey man, were you in my room?
Oh.
And I'd be like, no.
No.
And he'd be like, well, he's like, I thought it was weird because he said he went in one time and there was a picture of him hanging on the wall and like somebody just like looped it around to where it was upside down. Ooh. And it was just like sitting there upside down. And he was like, did you turn one of my pictures upside down? I'm like, no. He's like,
yeah.
So do you remember going to different hotel rooms all the time?
Oh, yeah.
What
feeling?
You just had a lot of feelings?
The hostels. Remember the hostels in Europe? That's what used to get me. Remember that one where it looked like we walked in there and it was like somebody hung themselves in this room? Like,
I remember the one specifically I remember is like outside of Buffalo or something. We stayed at this place and it looked like it was an old like school or something.
Yeah.
That they turned into a hotel because there was like it was a square shape and in the middle there was like a courtyard kind of area.
Do you remember, speaking of Buffalo,
okay,
that venue that was an old theater that was haunted? I've seen that theater on one of the ghost hunting shows. Mm-hmm. And they took us down in the basement. We were with August Burns Red. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And they were like, the crosses move down here. There's a crucifix down there. And they said Al Capone was down there.
Oh,
do you remember that? They took us on that tour.
Is it the one, are you talking about Milwaukee? Or is that a different one? The rave? I remember we went to the rave.
Was that one haunted too?
Yeah. With the Olympic swimming pool in the basement.
Oh my God. I can't believe I forgot about that place.
So you're talking about somewhere for sure in Buffalo.
Yeah, we were on tour and the green room, remember, it was a catwalk and there was pictures of the old theater, the way it used to be. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of the people who was working there was like, yeah, this place is haunted. Mm-hmm. Like, and we're like, oh, fuck. And we're like, we're fucking with each other. We're like, boo, I'm gonna get you. You know?
I think I do remember that.
Yeah.
It was a lot of different, like, it was like a maze down there, right?
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
like there was a bunch of shit down there too, and we were like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah, you see this crucifix? It moves." And like all of August Burns Road was like, we're like, awesome. You know,
I actually, so I wanted to do this short story about a band. I don't know. I've written a few little ones.
I know
but
you've written a novella.
A novel.
A novella. That's Italian. I think that's Italian
Actually,
for novel.
A novella is actually a small novel.
Well, a novella.
Anyways, so I thought it would be cool, and it was inspired by you. It's
By
like
me?
a group, like a band that goes to, has a show and goes to different hotels, but then the one person in the band every night, like, has a talk with a ghost at like every hotel.
I like that.
And then eventually, once they start going to the same places again, the girl like becomes friends with those
With the
ghosts,
ghosts.
and has all.
Oh.
So then, like, there's times where like the band is like trying to sleep and they're like waking up in the middle of the night, and like the one girl is just like, "I don't know, how have you been?" Blah, 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 and like talking to no one.
Ooh.
I thought it was a pretty cool.
That's
concept.
a crazy cool concept. I like that concept. And I like that it was inspired by me. I feel
because
flattered.
you used to like point at us in the
What?
middle of the night and be like, "You don't remember doing that?"
I remember Daryl told me, he's like, "You remember those noises you used to make?"
There was a time where you would be sleeping in the bed across from me, and I would like wake up in the middle. I would like wake up in the middle of the night, and you would just be like eyes open, and you'd be like, and then you'd like point, and I'd be like, "What the fuck is wrong with her?" And then you'd be like, and it would creep me out.
You're like,
was-
Krista's gonna cut my head off in the middle of the night. Oh my God. Well, that's what I'm trying to get back to is here. Experiences that you might have, right? Those lights are warm. The experiences that you may have, I feel like they lay dormant and they wait for your lowest times, and they will come back if you're open to it. I don't think they ever leave you.
Right.
And I think that they affect you in certain ways. So if you're at your lowest point, they'll find a way back in. It's like a cycle.
Well, I also feel like you're either perceptive to those types of things or not. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
of course.
there's some people that are like, "Oh, I don't believe in this garbage," and it's like, well, obviously, if you're shut off to the idea and you talk shit about it every chance you get, you might not ever see a ghost or like feel anything because you're so ingrained in not caring and not believing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
like it's just like if I was like, I'm never gonna be anything in my life. I'm never gonna be. Quit trying to push me to be something. I'm never gonna be anything, and then you end up being nothing. It's like you made
Do
that
it,
happen.
Mom. Ricky.
Quit trying to make me somebody.
Why, Ricky? Or like the mom from The Exorcist, who's the mom of the priest. Dimmi, why?
Right.
Why, Dimmi? There was an experience too that I forgot to mention that I had. I was in the 6th grade. My grandparents moved out from New York to Phoenix, Arizona. This is on my dad's side, the Camerons. And my grandpa Clary, his name was Clarence, but we called him Clary for short. He ended up having cancer, and he was given a few months to live, whatever. And now back home on Long Island, my mom's side, every Sunday, being from an Italian family, we go and have a big dinner. And we came home. Now it's May, okay? Again, it's really nice at night in New York in the springtime. You don't need an AC. You just open your damn windows and you get cool air, because it's warm during the day, but not too cold at night.
Right.
So we got home from my grandparents' house, and my sister and I, we both share the same room. And we went in our bedroom and we opened up the window. Now, that night, the air was stagnant. There was not a breeze, nothing in sight. It was just normal night. My sister and I are just getting our stuff ready. We just got home, getting our stuff ready for school the next day. All of a sudden, this big whoosh of air comes in and then makes this sucking sound out the window. And we both turn her, and the minute we both look at each other, we hear a knock on the door. It's my mom, and she just tells us, hey guys, Grandpa Clary just passed away. And we both like, what the fuck? You know?
Yeah.
We just talked about that long ago either, which is weird because I was like, do you remember these things? And she's like, yeah, you know, like that was crazy, just to freak Daryl out.
Does Daryl get freaked out?
Remember? Yeah, dude. Do you remember like, no, you weren't with us at that time, but we stayed at that.
The house that everybody talked about.
Yes.
Everybody told me that they stayed at this super creepy house.
Yes.
That this kid offered.
Mm-hmm. There were spiders in
and
the bathroom.
Daryl said that he went to take a shower.
He went to go take a shower.
And he said he saw someone walk by.
Yep.
And no one was there when he went and said hello.
Yep.
What else? They said Brian slept in a room where there was scratching.
Yeah, there was scratching.
It like scratch sounds that that circled the entire room.
And we asked them to. We're like, our grandma just died. That she lived there,
right?
And we're like, what?
Right.
It was a weird experience.
No, everyone that was in the band at the time has separately told me that was like a super scary, like sleep session.
I remember Steven and I, when we were still together, we had a inflatable mattress on the floor in the living room, and I just felt like something was there, so I just sat up like this, as tired as I was, because we were exhausted. You know, I was like, oh my god. It was just, I didn't sleep a wink that night.
Right.
I think John slept his ass in the van in the cold because he's like, hell no. You know, like It was just a weird experience, a really weird house, really weird people. Like they were kind, but it was just fucking weird. Like I was like, these people are gonna cut us up in our sleep. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like we're gonna get deliverance. You know?
Right.
I don't know. Do you know anybody else who has like crazy stories that somebody's told you?
I feel odd saying it on camera because it's like so personal, and like I know that people will think that it's like it's a fictional story.
Well, what I just said about my experience,
right?
I'm sure people are like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
There's no afterlife.
Well, that's what,
there's only Jesus. You know?
These are, we are talking about things that we believe have happened to us. And like, whether you saw it or not, we did.
Mm-hmm. And you know what?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just feel like even when we were on tour and like something would be awkward or weird, I felt like it was that presence. Mm-hmm. Like if I went through something bad, I felt like it was always there. Mm. Always. And I still sometimes feel like it's there. So like sometimes me talking about it makes it come out more. Like, but man, I don't know. It's like, it's weird. Oh, I can tell you the story about what just happened to my sister's girlfriend.
Okay.
This is a kind of a creepy one. So this is before.
After this, we'll
wrap
it up.
Okay, and tell me what you were gonna say though first.
Which one?
Because I interrupted you, like I always do.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We'll tell the last. You'll tell the last one, and then we'll start.
So this is the last story, which was very recent, and my sister actually asked me for help on this because she knows I'm into the paranormal. And okay, so her girlfriend Stell. Before my sister moved down, she was in a 1-bedroom apartment, and granted she was studying a lot. She was going for her tests to become an actual nurse practitioner, and and she'd be on the phone, video chatting with my sister at night when she got off from the hospital shifts. And which is also another story. It's like hospitals, you're around that stuff. There's so much death and birth and sickness and like the data. It's trauma sometimes. Right. So it's like you don't know sometimes if they come home with you, whatever. So she's kind of going through a little stressful time period. And at this point, I was like, okay, it sounds like poltergeist activity. But my sister said, now Stell has really, really long, thick hair. So when she puts it up, that thing ain't coming out. Okay. She has to literally, I've seen her take her hair out. Okay. So my sister and her were on video chat together, and her hair was just yanked. Okay? That's one. Then every night, she'd wake up. And at the foot of the bed, there's your feet, right? And you would see the blanket. Well, the blankets were perfectly folded up over where her ankles were. Not ripped off or like she kicked them off. It was taken and folded over. And then phone chargers have been yanked out of the outlets. Yeah. And she was done when it pulled her hair.
Yeah.
Like it literally took her hair and pulled it. And so my sister contacted me and she's like, "What do you think this is?" And I was like, "It sounds like it's like almost like a poltergeist. Like they call them noisy ghosts. It's German for noisy ghost, poltergeist." And they say that people actually make a poltergeist. Like it's our human forms, our energy, stress, this and that can form a poltergeist. But it was playful, and I was just like, I don't know.
It wants attention.
It wants attention. Yeah. And if you feed it fear, it just grows stronger. So she's out of that apartment now. She told me that she hasn't seen anything else. I mean, she's also like a sage queen. So she walks around with like sage and she's got her crystals and everything. And so I was like, you need to go around every corner of the home and sage around every corner and say, "You are not welcome here. This is my home." You need to be stern with it. Don't give it your fear.
Right.
Well, she hasn't since she started doing it. And then she moved into a same apartment complex, but a different apartment with my sister.
Right.
Which is, it's creepy when you're alone like that. Like having that happen, or the flipping over of the bed sheets.
Yeah.
And my sister sent me a picture of it. I was like, dang. Like, could you imagine?
So now I have one more story.
Okay. Yes, because you're remembering.
Yeah.
Because when we're on, we're a little.
There's always something.
It's like asking, what's your favorite band?
So, okay. So that story with the blanket reminds me of a story my brother told me. So my brother used to date this girl, and they lived together in this apartment, and they lived with the girl's brother. So he had a room across the hallway. And so my brother said that he felt a little odd in this place. And he said that there was a point in time where the blanket, he woke up. Okay, so his girlfriend was like, "Hey, I'm going to work." And it was like in the morning. So she left. And then he said he realized he woke up because it was like cold. And he was like, "What the hell?" So then he's like trying to look for the blanket so he could like pull the blanket over himself. And then he said the blanket was gone. He's like, "What the hell?" So then he's like looking all over the room. He like gets up and he's like looking on the floor. There's no blanket. And then he's like, "What the hell?" So he can't find the blanket anywhere. And then he hits his girlfriend up like, "Yo, you got the blanket? Like, what'd you do with the blanket? Why'd you hide it? Why'd you hide the blanket? You mess with me?" She's like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." So then he says he's like searching all over the house, and then he finally gives up whenever he realizes that there's like in the hallway. The hallway mostly goes left to where the rooms are, but if you go right, there's like an underneath the stairs kind of nook.
Okay.
And he said that the blanket was like squished up in the little nook in the corner, and he said he was like really weirded out that he found the blanket just shoved into the corner where no one would ever look. So then he said he was kind of creeped out at that point, and he's like, "Okay, this is weird." He says on a separate night, he has this dream where he's in bed with his girlfriend, and he wakes up and he sees a girl standing sees a girl standing by the bed, and she's just looking at him like very gently, like no real expression. And he said that he was like, "Hello," and he said that she just continued to look at him, and she starts getting a little closer. And then he's like, "Hello, can I help you?" And he said that she got like pretty close, and then as soon as she like opened her mouth like real slow, it was like, "Ah!" And he said he like freaked out, and he said he woke up out of bed, and no one was there, and he's like, okay, I just had the weird dream. So he said that he woke up the next day, and him and his girlfriend went and started eating breakfast, and then the brother comes out, and he's like, so you guys get a little freaky last night? And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, I heard someone screaming in there.
Wow.
And so he said he was like super creeped out after that, because he was like, we went to bed because we were exhausted, and you probably just heard the ghost.
No, that was just the ghost. That was just Matilda.
Yeah.
The ghost.
So that's pretty creepy.
So it seems like your brother is very sensitive. Like he might be a sensitive because he's had experiences, and you've had the dream.
He's told me that he's like almost died like 2 or 3 times in his life. So
maybe the close to death, like it kind of his close encounters. What I'm trying to say with death, maybe like sparked like a from one plane to another, and it was like it was just perfect, like 2 trains coming at one time. It was like, he's the car on the train track and 2 trains coming at the same time.
Right. So
I feel like that's what a ghost, like a haunting is. Like, if you think about it, it's like you're sitting in this middle plane, but you look and there's nothing there, but really there's something coming at you.
Right. If you like,
you might not hear it, you might not see it, but it's there.
Like it's another dimension.
Yeah, it's another dimension.
All right. Well, it's been fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me
on. I I hope the best for the band,
I hope the best for you.
If you ever got some shows going on, you need a bass player.
I just asked you that like 5 minutes ago.
There's been times where I'm like, I'm just so done with music, and then I'm like, as I'm playing some songs on the bass, I'm like, this is so fun.
It is.
I got to do this more.
That's what I'm saying. That's how it is. It's like you think you're done with it, and then you get back up in the game, and you're like, dang. Because it's kind of like what you're born to do. It's what you know and what you're good at.
Right.
Because you're so good at it, Ricky. You're so good at it. And your stage presence is just...
Just put me on a stage, give me a mic. Floor's lava.
The floor is always fucking lava. It's not lava, it's fucking lava.
That's right.
The floor is fucking lava, everybody. Get it right or pay the fucking price. So everybody's going to click to subscribe.
Yes. What else? Hit the like button.
Hit the like button.
If you believe in ghosts, or if you have your own ghost story,
that'd be great.
Leave it in the comments.
And me and Ricky will totally hit you up and be like, "We believe you. We believe in you.
We believe." We should have our own ghost show.
We should. I'll fucking drive 45 minutes.
I'll go to haunted places. I
you know that
places.
Denton is haunted, and actually McKinney, the McKinney Square. So he's here in Denton, and I'm in McKinney, which is about 30 minutes from each other. No, 45.
I've always wanted to just go haunted ass places.
Me too.
And just like write and do projects and just like chill.
There's some amazing graveyards too to hang out in. Yeah, amazing graveyards. So, you can just go to graveyards, and you just need a recording device.
Right.
And you can possibly pick up EVPs, which is an electric voice phenomenon.
All right, Empyrean lights. Check out the Empyrean lights. And we'll see you later, nerds.